Okay, thank you very much for signing into tonight's meeting. I want to welcome everybody to this, our 6th session, our Summer Institute, and it is being held under the theme Strong Schools, Resilient Teachers, Embracing a New Era in Education. I'm your host for tonight's experience. I would call it an experience. My name is Oswald Robinson and I'm the president of the St. Vincent and Grenadines Teachers Union. At this time, I will call on our General Secretary to lead us in prayer, Sister Catherine. GS.
Good night, everyone. Let us pray. Our eternal Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening for the privilege of us being here as teachers, as leaders in our own rights. We thank you, O God, for this workshop that is to be held tonight. We thank you, O God, for the facilitators, Ms. Aldrich and Mr. Williams, that they may put forward things that we may learn. We ask you, God, to guide this program that it may flow fluently. With us all, I ask you to be with the SVGTU and help us to be able to reach to our members in a most positive way. We thank you, God, for everything. We ask you to guide us and protect us during these proceedings. In Jesus' holy and precious name, amen.
Okay, thank you, General Secretary, Sister Catherine. Before we get into the program, and before we have the introduction, I would just like to crave your indulgence for us to just observe 1 minute of silence for the passing of our dear sister, Marlene John Diamond, a teacher who, very young, and would have died earlier today. So we will just observe a minute of silence. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. May her soul rest in peace. So, welcome again to another exciting series as we continue to build and enhance the competencies of our teachers, and also as we give our hard-working facilitators the opportunity to share their experiences and the expertise. I want to acknowledge the course director, Brother Andrew John, also our technical director, Brother Sheddy Conliff, our general secretary, Sister Ketty Reen, and who is also part of the administration of this program, principals, teachers, and our distinguished presenters who would facilitate this evening's experience. Before we get into the program, I want to make a few announcements. First of all, our virtual emergency meeting will be held tomorrow at 10:30, and we are reminding our teachers, make sure that you signed in with the correct name, the name that you register. That is very important because this is a crucial meeting and we have to ensure that only members are in the meeting. And that would also ease the flow of getting people into the meeting, and then we could expedite the meeting and do much justice to it. This Sunday, don't forget, this Sunday would be our Teachers Talk program on Extreme FM, 6 p.m. It's a two-part program. We have some persons, very exciting guests would be on the program. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, so you need to listen to the program, tune in order to benefit from that experience. Next Friday at 6 p.m., we expect a very special presentation on COVID-19 and vaccination. So look forward to that. The General Secretary would send the link for you, and we want you to participate. We want to empower you with as much information as possible so that you would make the necessary decision when the time comes. And then final announcement is that our Solidarity Week, which comes in the month of November, will start from November 14th on to the 20th. You'll get more details of that at the end of the program, and also our PR acting will tell you more about that on Sunday's program. As I said, tonight's program is about leadership and the teacher. And I would give an introduction to our presenters. We would start with our distinguished sister. We put in ladies first. Sister Lisa Aldrich. She has been a teacher in the York region in Ontario for 20 years. And what is so special with Lisa is that she has been working with the foundation, what we call the early childhood years, students 5 to 12 years. She had the great experience of first being one of the co-tutors in the St. Lucia project overseas in 2019. She has recently taken a course in environmental education and maths. And in her spare time, she loves spending time with her family outside, going out. So if you want to learn more about that from her, I'm sure that she'll be willing to share that with you. And this is one of the exciting things about these programs, when we have our Canadian colleagues coming to our shores, but now we have them virtually, and we continue to build that strong relationship. This program is a tripartite program in terms of our relationship. The Canadian Teachers Federation, the Ministry of Education, and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union. After I'm finished introducing the gentleman, I'll ask the two facilitators to come in and to decide how they would conduct the program. Our own brother here, by the name of Vanrick School Williams. His nickname is School, S-K-O-O-L. That nickname was given to him by his peers because what was outstanding is that he spent all of his life in the school system, from a student in the classroom to a teacher in the classroom. So the transition was made over 2 decades ago. He's currently assigned at the Sinclair Dakin Secondary School. That's the school that the dear sister we just paid tribute to who passed, that's the same school. He grew up on the leeward side of the island in a community called Relland Hill. Attended the Kittels Government School and the Emmanuel High School, Kingston. And then he went on to the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College. And then he completed his teaching certificate, teacher education at the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers College. He holds a bachelor's degree in education in social studies and a master's of education in education leadership from the University of the West Indies, Caville Campus, Barbados. He's a member of the Teachers Union for over 20 years. He served as president of the South Winard branch and member of the General Council, and he's currently the first Vice President acting of the St. Vincent and Grenadines Teachers Union. He loves nature, enjoys observing trees and animals, and holds the belief that what a man cannot teach us, nature will. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct honor and privilege on behalf of the organizers of this program, the National Executive, the Course Director, our Technical Director, our Administrative Officers, and General Secretary to present to you Lisa Aldrich and our brother Vanrick Williams. Give them a round of applause as they come forward to present this evening's program. Lady and gentlemen, over to you.
A pleasant good night to one and all, and I hope that all is well with each and every one. I'm very happy to be here with you tonight as one of the facilitators, along with my partner, Lisa. Now, you may be wondering why I'm wearing this mask, but I'm wearing this mask as a symbolic gesture to remind people that it is very important to wear your mask and to protect yourself. And as leaders, we must lead from the front and we must set examples. So this is a symbolic gesture, but I do not plan to wear this mask throughout the presentation. So that was just to get that message across. With that said, I browsed through the names earlier of those present, and I noticed that I've seen a lot of names that females carry. In our country, it's not difficult to tell someone their gender by the name that they carry, but there are some dual names, right, that both males and females carry. Among those names, we may have Kim, we may have Alex, and I am very sure that my colleagues, you will know other names that males and females carry in our country. Now, about the females, I'm very, very excited and happy to see that we have a lot of females logged on here tonight. The truth is, which is my opinion, I believe that females make good leaders, and females are getting into that leadership position as well. To put simple, I believe that females are more compassionate than males. Females are more patient than males. And yes, they are more organized than males as well. Females make great leaders, and I encourage all females to get into leadership position. Not forgetting my male colleagues as well. What we know traditionally, and I use the word traditionally, I emphasize that, males would have taken the front, so to speak. But we also know that roles are changing, and I'm very excited to see a lot of females taking leadership roles, and I encourage you to continue to do that. I also want to express my deepest condolences to my colleague, Sister Marlene John Diamond. Our president would have mentioned her earlier, but I also want to take this opportunity to express condolences to her family, to her friends, and to the staff and students at the Sinclair Bacon Secondary. I wish just to pause a while and turn over to Lisa. Maybe she has, and I'm hoping that she has some words that she would like to say to us, and probably to tell us how teaching has been going in Canada. So she can update us a little bit about that, so that we can get comfortable and your facilitators. We're working on building that interpersonal connections as leaders. So Lisa.
Thank you. Just going to turn the volume up a bit. Thank you very much. And really big thank you to everybody for allowing me to be here tonight with you. From what I understand, you've started fairly recently at the beginning of October. We went back into our classroom beginning of September, and we're working online as well as in the classroom. But it's a great opportunity to learn. And as you've just mentioned, Henrik, it's a wonderful opportunity to become leaders in different areas in the school and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you much, Lisa. So colleagues, without further ado, I want to get into our presentation. So please allow me to share my screen because I have a PowerPoint prepared. And we can get into that presentation. Great. Brother Robinson, can you just let me know if you are seeing the PowerPoint presentation that I'm sharing?
Yes, I'm seeing. It's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. So as Brother Robinson, our president, said earlier, we are facilitating a session on leadership and the teacher. Now, the brother would have given an extensive introduction to who I am, so I can present the areas of focus for tonight's presentation. We are going to look at what is leadership styles, and how does leadership relate to the teacher. To begin with what is leadership, I am hoping that you guys will participate, so that our presentation can be interactive as we go along. And the first question that I have for participants who are present here tonight is, what does leadership mean to you? So even before Lisa and I can give you our perspectives on leadership, we would like to know what you think it is. What is your perspective? You can type it in the chat if you feel comfortable doing so, or you can unmute and give us your perspective briefly on what you think leadership is. So I'll give you about a minute or two, allow you to type whatever you feel comfortable doing, then you can do that. So I'll pause for a minute or two to see what you think, your thoughts about leadership. It's okay, colleagues, you can formulate your thoughts. We have some time, we will try to be out of here within 2 hours or so, but it's okay for you. And it's also okay if it takes you some time to formulate your thoughts. That is fine with us. So I am seeing one message here saying, leadership is the ability to motivate others to achieve a given goal. See there, Nero. Okay, good. Good one. Anyone else wish to share what they think leadership means or what it means to you? I have another one here. Leadership is a process of influencing the activities of an organized group toward goal setting and goal achievement. Awesome. Now, looking at the definitions that you have put forward, I am very excited because I'm seeing that you have a very good idea of what leadership means. I am seeing a few more. Having the authority to motivate, direct, and control others to achieve goals. This is getting great. And Walker, Miss Walker, we have the ability to influence and guide the group to a particular goal. I'm smiling because I've looked at the names and females. I believe that you have a pretty good idea of what leadership is. Now, I have a video, right? A short video that I would have pulled from YouTube. And I looked at this video and I believe that it is well directed to what we are trying to bring out here. And I also chose this video because these are persons from different cultures. Our culture would be different. And these are persons from other cultures, but their views of leadership, their perspective of leadership may be similar to what our perspectives are. So let me play that video and you can listen to the perspectives of these individuals as it relates to leadership.
So come up to that marker. So
I just want to pause the video just to make sure that you're hearing. Are you hearing the video?
Yes, we're hearing.
All right.
I look straight down the barrel.
You ready to go?
All right, well, look, let's start. When you think about leadership, what comes to your mind?
It's a good question.
Leading?
A few different words, actually. Probably responsibility, integrity, vision.
Someone that you aspire to want to be like.
We often have this idea that leaders are the people who are just like dictators, and they want to stop us from doing things and make us forces, put us into place, and make us be robots.
Well, for me, leadership doesn't come from above. It comes from energies that are pushing you up.
Inspire confidence in someone to get something done.
You know, it's not just about you, it's about them, the team.
Bottom line is that the whole can be greater than the sum of the parts.
It's important for generations coming through to have people ahead of them that aren't saying,
It's someone who's willing to fight.
I think walking the talk rather than just saying things that you don't actually do.
I don't know what proportion of the population are cut out to be leaders, but it's probably not that many.
You see, I believe everyone can. I believe everyone can.
I think a leadership title, that doesn't mean much without the right qualities.
Traditionally, when we think of a leader, we think of like a person of power or influence. But even at uni, you see people in tutorials, they're leading conversation or ideas.
I think that someone with an eye to humanity's problems is really admirable.
Be part of the motion of humanity. Standing up, being counted.
You need brave people. And also, it's exciting to be someone who tries to make a difference.
Watching people doing great things and you just feel inspired and want to talk to them and learn from them and do the same or even better things.
I think real leadership is about changing people's lives for the better.
Okay, colleagues, so there we have the views of others as it relates to leadership. And you can see that their perspective on leadership is not much different from what you would have suggested a while ago. And even though that you didn't write anything in the chat, and you probably would have been thinking about it, then you can see that their perspective on leadership is not much different from what we hold. So basically, leadership is universal. It doesn't matter where you are from. It doesn't matter which culture, which background you're from. Leadership is universal. You can be a leader in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You can go to Canada. You can be a leader there as well. You can go to other countries, and the skills that you hold, the leadership skills that you hold, it will not change. It just means that your culture may influence your perspective. It may influence how you go about planning, how you go about your leadership styles. But at the end of the day, leadership is universal. Now, to get into the meat of the matter, and the meat of the matter is leadership. And to focus our definition on what it is, I am looking here at what it is not. So the is nots of leadership. And one, it says that leadership is not about seniority or rank. So it doesn't matter that you would have been in an organization for 25 years compared to someone who has been in that organization for 15 years or 10 years or even 5 years. It has nothing to do with seniority. But again, your skills, which we would explain as we go about and discuss. Secondly, it has nothing to do with titles. So the title that you hold or that someone holds does not make you a leader. So for example, again, we are in the school settings, most of us are in the school settings. You can hold a title of a principal, but that is the title. But that doesn't mean that you have leadership skills. That doesn't mean you are a leader. You can be a CEO of an organization and you hold that title of the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, if we want to use abbreviate CEO as that, right? And again, with that title being a CEO, if you do not possess those leadership skills, then again, the title will not make you a leader. Personal achievements does not make you a leader either. You could have 10, 15 houses. You can have $10 million, $20 million in your bank account. You could have 20 vehicles. You can have 5 different degrees, academic degrees. And you would have achieved all those. But again, the leadership skills may be absent. So these achievements will not make you a leader. The fourth point I have there is it has nothing to do with power. And you should know that power is where you have the right to give instructions. You have the authority to give orders. But again, not because you have the authority, the power, the right to give orders or instructions or to coerce behavior. That does not make you a leader. And there's a saying that says, that goes, having power does not make you a leader, but it is what you do with the power. Likewise, having that title will not make you a leader, but it is what you do with that title. So having the is nots out of the way, we can look at some of the definitions put forward by different persons, different authors. And I have 3 definitions there of leadership. One, Northouse says it is a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. Zichek said it is about inspiring others to pursue your vision within the parameters you set, to the extent that it becomes a shared effort, a shared vision, and a shared success. Cruz, 2013, states that leadership is a process of influence which maximizes the efforts of others to the achievement of a goal. Now, in these definitions, I want to pinpoint 3 important aspects of leadership. 1, influence. And earlier when I asked, what do you think leadership is, or what do you think it means, I noticed that a lot of you that responded used the word influence. So very importantly, influence. We can see where Nordhaus said an individual influences. We can see where Zetrick said about inspiring, and inspiring is basically exalting influence as well. And Cruz said it is a process of social influence. So we are seeing influence coming out here in these 3 definitions. Another aspect that we are seeing coming out here is group, more than one person. So again, Nordhaus said influence is a group. Zetrick said a shared vision, a shared success, a shared effort. And if we are talking about share, it means that we are sharing with others. So it includes more than one person. And the third one also says that which maximize the efforts of others. Again, we are seeing others. So leadership involves influence and it involves others. It's not about yourself. And the third aspect I want to bring to you there is the achievement of a common goal, shared success. So when we are talking about leadership, we must pool our resources together. We must influence others. And at the end of the day, we must achieve a common goal. So these are 3 definitions put forward, and I noted 3 important aspects, 3 similarities about leadership, right? Now, to add to that or to refine a definition, if we are going to make our own definition, then there are 3 dimensions that can help us to identify or to develop a working definition. 1, leadership as influence. And here we are seeing influence coming out again. So we know for sure that leadership involves influence. 2, leadership and values. You must have strong values, strong principles. It's what you consider to be important. So when we talk about leadership, that principles, that standard that you hold must be of a very high quality. And the third point I have there is vision. Every leader must have a vision, a plan for the future, what you would like to achieve in the future. A leader without vision is lost. A leader without influence is lost. And a leader without values, strong principles is also lost, which leads me to ask the question, is leadership really about influence or is it about authority? Keep in mind that authority is the right to order someone. Authority, you have that from your position and you can use that to coerce others, to force others to do what you want. So it is influence where you have an effect on the character or behavior of someone versus forcing them to do something because you have a title. So let me just pause a while there and call on my partner, Lisa, to share her views concerning the definitions put forth on what is leadership. Lisa?
Thank you. I was just taking some notes, things that I had heard that I reflect on. I heard the word vision, a common goal, I think it's really important that leaders listen to other people. I do believe, much like was mentioned in the video, that everybody can be a leader. We don't have to be leaders of big organizations or principals of schools. Within our classroom, within our school, we can find leadership opportunities, find things that interest us, and work within that with other people. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Now, I want to reinforce the concept of leadership. I want to strengthen what leadership is. But again, I need you to participate here a little bit again. As I mentioned earlier, I'm hoping that we can have an interactive session and we can participate as we go along, because I want to involve you in this presentation as well. Leaders involve persons in what they are doing in the organization. So I have an image, and the question I'm asking is, how would you describe the image? If you feel comfortable typing in the chat, you can do that, or you can unmute your mic and briefly describe what you are seeing in the image below.
Hello.
Pause for a minute or two. Yes, please.
Yes, Nicole here, Nicole Martindale. In the first image, I am seeing teamwork. Everybody putting the effort together, and they're trying to have the goal accomplished together. In the second one, I am seeing somewhat of an authoritative power influence there, where the leader is he's using his power or his authority, and I don't want to force his members to do the task without him being a part of it. So he is not taking part in the actual work.
Okay.
He is demanding them to do the work. And this, may seem as if some, force and authority, it looks slavish.
And I agree with you on your description, very good points. I am noticing that I have a few comments in our chat as well, and I can read a few of them. A leader should be able to lead both from the front and the back. I'm also seeing first photo showing a leader influencing the others, and they are working together to achieve an objective. And the second one shows the use of authority. I love that point that you say, influencing the others, and they are working together to achieve an objective. I love that point. I also have first image, leader with others, teamwork. Awesome. I also have, I will describe the first image as shared leadership. It is decentralized. Great. So looking at the image, we can have our own description of what we see. And I have a similar image about 2 slides away. But when we get to that, a very similar one to this, when we get to that, we will discuss that as well. So I have here the characteristics of leadership. And I have 3 characteristics of leadership, and they go hand in hand with the definitions of leadership as well. 1, leaders need followers. If you don't have followers, you cannot be called a leader. There's also a saying in our culture about followers and leaders, but they go hand in hand. In order to be a leader, you must have followers. If no one is willing to follow you, then you lack that influence. Hence, we need to work on that leadership skills, on those leadership skills. The second one says the ability to influence and persuade others. Again, we are looking at the word influence and persuade, but very importantly, to achieve the goals of the organization. And the third characteristic is to guide and direct individuals, and I want to emphasize in an appropriate manner towards the achievement of goals and objectives. So these characteristics where we must have followers, where we exert influence and persuade others, and where we guide and direct. And the previous picture, image that you would have seen, in that first image, you can see that individual guiding and directing the other individuals. So it's not that they are leaving those individuals on their own, like what you are seeing in the second picture, leaving them on their own and saying, forward. But instead, a leader guides them in the right way to achieve the goals of the organizations, goals and objectives. Now here, I have that similar picture that I spoke about. But why do I have a similar picture? What is different? What is different this time is that I use the word boss. I pull that picture with the word boss and that picture with the word leader. In the previous image, it was blank. I left you to do your own description without me influencing your thoughts, without Lisa influencing your thoughts, right? But this time, with boss and leader there, it somewhat can influence what you think a leader is and what you think a boss is. Now, I chose this picture, as I said, to strengthen the concept of leadership and leader. Because I want to make a distinction between management and leadership. This would help to strengthen the concept or the definitions of leader. Now, next slide tells you that there's a difference somewhat between leadership and management. And I have the list there. You can go through the list. I would only pick out a few out of the list and mention what they are. So the first one, leadership focuses on people, management focuses on things. So with management colleagues, the focus is on how do we get things done? What is the correct procedure to get things done? Whereas with leadership, the focus is on the workers. How do I assist my workers to get things done? So you see the difference between management and leadership there. Management is focusing on things. How do I get this done? There's no focus on the individual, on the workers, but on the process of getting things done. Whereas with leadership, there's a focus on the workers, there's a focus on the people. How can I assist these people to get things done? How can I guide these people to get things done? It goes on to say that the articulate, vision, and execute plan, trust and develop. And I want to spend a little time on trust and develop. With leadership and leaders, they are able to develop trust in the organization. Their followers trust them. They believe that the leader knows what he or she is doing, and they have that influence over them that make them feel comfortable, whether it is with communication, which is very important if you're going to talk about leadership, or if there's any other aspect that they feel that I can talk to my leader. Because communication is very, very important. It helps to develop interpersonal connections, interpersonal relations, and it builds the trust. If you are at your workplace and you are afraid to talk to your leader or the person in charge, then there is something wrong there. There probably is no trust, and that is something that the leader will need to work on. And you notice I'm saying, I'm not saying that the follower would have to work on that. I'm saying that the leader would have to work on developing that trust. And we talk about create changes as a leader and managing changes as a manager. Now, a leader is innovative, is creative. They bring new ideas to the table and they are able to lead the change. But with management, when the change comes, then the manager adapts to that change and control that change. They manage the change. So if you see the difference here, whereas leaders create the change, management, they adapt and control the change. Use influence, uses authority. Again, we see influence coming out here, so we know how important influence is when it comes to leadership, right? You are able to effect changes on someone's character, on someone's behavior. Whereas with management, you use your title, you use your position, you use your authority to have your workers, your followers do what you say. And we also have the authority comes from personal relationship. Again, when you develop that trust, when you communicate with your followers, they develop that personal relationship with you that they feel comfortable. And that's the reason why you are able to influence them, because of that trust and that personal relationship that you have. Whereas, as mentioned earlier, with management, the authority stems from the position you hold, right? And it has the other aspects there, which I believe you would have gone through. Meanwhile, I picked up those. But what am I saying? I am not saying that management and leadership doesn't have anything in common. No, because at the end of the day, both management and leadership, they want to get important things done. The difference is how they go about getting things done. Leadership and leaders, they instill and they aspire the vision and motivate their workers and influence their workers. Their workers want to do things because of their leader and not because of the position. With management, they focus on operational processes. That is, transforming inputs to outputs. So for example, the inputs may be raw materials, equipment, etc., whereas the output is, it could be the product, it could be the service that the customers have. So the manager or management, they focus on transforming the raw materials to the finished product. It's about things. Whereas leadership focuses on people, inspiring them, motivating them, giving them reasons to get the work done, arousing their interest in achieving that shared vision, that common goal. Again, I am going to call on my partner, Lisa, to share her views as it relates to leadership, the characteristics, management as well. Lisa?
Thank you. So many wonderful things said there, and thank you. I think my thoughts were just a little bit more towards taking those initial steps. If this is something that you're interested in to be a leader, I was thinking about, starting with something small that interests you, perhaps within a school. And I know that all schools are a little bit different, but could be with some students or with adults. maybe, for example, a walking club, something that you like, and just taking that first step as a leader, if you're looking to go down that route. And then from there, feeling what that's like. What is it like working with other people? Does that interest you? And then leading into all of these other great things that have been mentioned. You know, do you have a goal, a vision? Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. And yes, vision, very important, a very important aspect of leadership, right? As I mentioned earlier, a leader without vision is lost. Now, to surmise the manager and the leader, management and leadership, they go hand in hand, but yet we can see how they are different, and we know that they both want to get important things done. So, simply put, leaders can be more effective if they have strong managerial skills, right? And to give an example of that, because I'm assuming that you would have been reading the slide, right? So to give an example of that, a manager who can efficiently allocate resources is ineffective if she or he has no vision. So for example, you are able to get tablets, computers to your students. So you can allocate those resources to your students. But at the same time, you lack the vision as to how you are going to have those students use those devices for educational purpose or educational purposes. So you can get the devices to them, but you don't know how to get the students to use these devices for educational purposes. So you lack that vision. Hence, you are ineffective. Likewise, as a leader, you have the vision and you know how to get students to use these devices for educational purposes. But then you do not know how to get these devices to the students. You cannot allocate the devices to the students. Again, you are ineffective. So simply put, a leader with strong managerial skills is more effective, right? So I hope that we would have driven home the point as into what leadership is, what it is not, and to strengthen the concept of what it is, distinguish between management and leadership. So not because you are managing an institution or you are managing an organization means that you are leading or you are a leader. You may be surprised that in that same organization, there is someone else who doesn't have that title that you have, but then they influence all the other workers, but they don't have the title that you have. So right there again, we can make that distinction between managers and leaders. It takes me to our second part, our second aspect, which is leadership styles. Lisa, I don't know if you want to say anything on what is leadership before we move on to the leadership styles. Anything you want to add?
No, I'm okay. There's a few comments that are in the chat though. There's one that has a question that might be of interest to talk about too.
Okay, you want to go through the comments, Lisa?
Well, I don't have an answer to it, but the question reads, is it true that a good leader needs to encourage participation? But what about instances whereby we need authoritative control? Wouldn't that leader be still a good leader?
Okay, awesome. For some reason, spot, I'm still looking through the comments and I'm seeing,
yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was thinking perhaps this does spark a conversation, but the leader is also someone who can take on that difficult work and the tough conversations.
Okay, great. So let me give my perspective on this one, right? Hazel Weeks. Is it true that a good leader needs to encourage participation? But what about instances where we need authoritative control? Wouldn't that leader still be a good leader? Now, some persons may tell you that, it depends on the situation, it depends on the context. But then, if we are talking about influence, having that effect on another's character, on another's behavior, then there is no need for authoritative control because you have that influence. They are willing to do what you ask them to do. They are willing to do what it takes to achieve that shared goal. So with influence, authoritative control is a thing of the past. You don't need to use that sort of power because you have influence. And the question that says, would they not still be a good leader? Now, because we are looking at leadership style, it is a leadership style. And if it works, then some persons might think it is good or that person is a good leader. Some may think that they are not. But if you are asking for my personal opinion, and as I said before, once you have influence, there is no need for authority. And if you are using authority, then that means that you don't have influence. And if we go back to the very definition that we started with, if you don't hold influence, then you are not a leader. So probably that person would be a good manager, but not necessarily a good leader. I'm seeing here how true paperwork, but no difference. A good leader knows when to be authoritative, but does so without losing followers. And again, I really want to change that word authoritative to influence. That's what I want us to focus on, right? So let us look at influence, at motivation, at inspiration, and focus less on the authoritarian and the authoritative, because what we are pushing here is that leader should have influence, and the authority that they have comes from the influence and not from the position or the title. Feedback is very important when it comes to leadership qualities. What would you say about a leader who has poor feedback or no feedback skills at all? And I like that question as well. Feedback is very important. And later on, when we go through leadership styles, that leader who doesn't have or doesn't give feedback or has poor feedback, then you will see which leadership style that leader falls under. So I don't want to jump the gun, but it's a very good question. And we are going to end this segment, which is the leadership style segment, by answering that question with poor feedback. All right?
Brother Martingale has her hands up, so she's trying to ask you a question.
Thank you, Brother President. Yes, Nicole Martindale.
Yes, Mr. Williams. I like the fact that you're reinforcing influence, because what I'm seeing here, some people try to separate leadership with just a leader working on his own, or like giving instructions. But you keep on saying influence, and that means that the leadership there is teamwork. So a lot of times you don't have like a separate entity, a separate person doing the work or even giving instructions, because that leader would encourage others to be even in leadership position. So he might like somebody use the word decentralize, or he or she might say, you know what, yes, I am the leader of leaders, but I'm going to ask you to do to be this and to be that. And therefore, you would have like a team working together to achieve the goal. That influence of the leader, you have that teamwork. So you don't really have the leader, giving all the instructions, because he or she includes members. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, and that's very, very correct, because, influence is important, vision is important, followers, right? They are important as well. And it is not because of the position that you hold, but that ability to effect changes on someone's behavior, right? So that's why I keep on reiterating that leaders and leadership focus on influence, right? I also saw another message in the chat here, probably I can run through it quickly. Sometimes people do not see the vision, or maybe want to retard the vision. What do you do in a situation whereby a person just doesn't care about the vision, but wants to see you as a leader fail? As a leader, you should be a master at relationship building. Good leaders are masters at relationship building. They are masters of having their vision shared with their followers. So basically, in this situation, there are things that the leader has to do so as her or his followers will not want to retard that vision. Buy-in is very important. Now, if you have your workers, your followers buying to your vision, the organization vision, then they will give you their support. They will not try to retard the vision. And how do you get these followers to buy in, to support you? You involve them in the decision-making process. You ask them, what do you think we should do? What is the way forward? Now, once your followers feel as if they are involved in the decision-making, they are going to buy in to that vision. Hence, they will not try to retard that vision as you put it there, right? And you say that they want to see you fail. Now, again, if those persons buy into the vision, it is not about the individual, it is about the common goal. So they would put that individual difference aside and work towards the common goal, which is the success of the organization. If it is in the school system, the common goal may be and should be to improve students' learning, students' performance, and they will work towards that and forget about their differences. So again, it is how the leader go about getting support from the workers, getting the buy-in to their vision, to the school's vision, to the organization's vision. Hence, that person can feel as if this vision is not the principal's or the leader's or the CEO's vision, but it is our vision. Hence, there will be no need to retard that vision, right? So I'll come back to a few more of the messages a little later. And to begin with the leadership styles, I have a video here with different leaders speaking on the vaccination topic. Now, you may have to read the caption for at least one, because it is in a different language than English. So you may have to read the caption to get the true essence of what the leader is saying. So I'm going to play this video, and you can just think about it, about the leadership styles that you think they are bringing. Just think about it, and then we'll go through the leadership styles. So let me play that video. Don't forget to read the caption where there are captions, so you can understand what the video is about.
Not wanting vaccines because they're a little ambivalent, we can come and talk with you. Persons who may have concerns or medical questions, we can try to find the answers for you. Persons who are adamant that they don't want it, we respect you. But we want to recognize also for all of us that this is a country where we invariably never have 100% of one thing or another, but we have learned how to live together and how to carry each other.
We need every employer, not just to say, but to insist that every employee must be vaccinated. Well, you can't vex with an employer if the employer says, I want people who are vaccinated on my job.
No one can force you to take the vaccine. No one. I said before, I will not support any law that compels people to vaccinate. That's my philosophical position. Some countries are doing it. Comes and say if you ain't get vaccine, you can't get this, and you can. I'm not in that. That's a human responsibility. Protect yourself. But my urge is to vaccinate, because that is the way we can get back to business as usual.
Remembering, we do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country. We do not have that. We are not proposing to have that. That is not changing. But an employer may wish to make a reasonable directive to staff, and if they do so, they would need to do so consistent with the law.
Mamili kayo. Magpabakuna kayo o ipakulong ko kayo sa silda. Sabi ko sa inyo, yung silda dyan sa mga pulis, walang linis yan. Tamad yung pulis maglinis. Nandoon ng lahat na ng baho nandoon. Doon kayo.
So, yes, colleagues, this is a synopsis of those videos that I compiled together. We have a leader saying that if you don't want to be vaccinated, I am going to come and talk to you. I want to talk to you. I want to find out why you don't want to be vaccinated. If you don't want to be vaccinated, I respect that. And remember, I alluded earlier to women being more compassionate, women being more patient. But, you know, it is up to us to make our decision. We have another leader saying that employers, he insists that employers ask employees to be vaccinated. And you cannot be vexed with an employer if you say, be vaccinated or do not come to the job. We have another leader saying it is the individual's choice. He will not force anyone to take the vaccine, but he encouraged them to do that. We have another leader, the Australian Prime Minister, saying that if it is reasonable for the employer to find a reasonable cause to ask the employees to be vaccinated, and once they can do that in the framework of the law, then go ahead. And then we have the Philippines president saying, take the vaccine or you go to jail. And the jails are filthy, etc., etc. Right there and then, we can ponder or we can think about the different leadership styles of these leaders. And it takes us into the different leadership styles that I want us to look at. But before we get into that right there, I have what is leadership styles. It is a method of providing direction, implementing plans, and motivating people. So your method, and persons may have different methods, but at the end of the day, you direct, you implement, and you motivate people. And I have the traditional, and I use the word traditional leadership styles. We should be very familiar with these. Authoritarian, where the leader makes all of the decision themselves. We have democratic, where the leader involves followers in the decision-making process, which helps to get buy-in from the supporters. And we have the laissez-faire, one which leaders make few decisions and allow their staff to choose. But those are the traditional leadership styles. But I want to take our presentation deeper than those traditional leadership styles. I want us to look at two different types of leadership styles. transactional, and the transformational leadership styles. I believe that these leadership styles, they go deeper than authoritarian, than democratic. They encompass these different leadership styles, right? So there is more to learn from looking at these two different types of leadership styles. And before I go into the transactional and the transformational, let me call on my partner again if you wish to comment or share anything concerning the leadership styles. Lisa, you wish to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we can get straight into the transactional leadership style. Now, with transactional leaders, and guys, as we go through these different leadership styles, I want you to look at the instances where you can see authoritarian leadership style coming out, or you can see democratic leadership style coming out as well, right? Within these different leadership styles. So with a transactional leader, there is a focus on the role of supervision, organization, and group performance. So when we talk about the role of supervision with the transactional leader, they focus on overseeing, watching the performance of workers. They want to see how their workers perform. So they may move from one worker to the other, just looking, watching, observing, making sure that you are doing your work. The transactional leader tells himself that, hey, what, if I do not have an eye on my worker, he or she will not do the work. So their focus is on supervision, making sure the workers work. They also are concerned with the status quo and the day-to-day progress towards goals. So with the transactional leader, they are the leaders that say, Helena, you know your place in this organization. I am the leader. You are the worker. You respect my position. And don't forget your place. So they are concerned with the status quo. It doesn't really matter that you may have a good idea about having something done. Once you keep in your lane, so to speak, you are the worker, I am the boss, then the transactional leadership is good. So they emphasize the status quo. And it says, the third point from Burns 78, there's a focus on exchange that occur between leaders and followers. When we talk about exchange, what are we talking about? Because they focus on the exchange. Now, that exchange that we are talking about with transactional leadership is where extrinsic motivation comes in, right? That is rewards and punishment, so as to get workers to do their work. So if you notice something here, it is not so much about motivating the worker to get the job done, but more as they are motivating them, but not intrinsically, not by influencing, but by giving them rewards. So you work good, you'll be rewarded. You don't work good, then you will not be rewarded. And you don't do what you have to do, there will be punishment. So you come to work late every day, or you come to work a few times late, the transactional leader is not going to find out why you are late. The transactional leader is going to pull the report, and they're going to write up the report about you being late, and they are going to start to subtract your salary, punishment, or they are going to send you home on suspension. Whereas you may be late for a very good reason, but the transactional leader doesn't focus on that. They focus on rewards. You do good, you are rewarded. You don't do good, you will be punished, and you must keep in line with the organizational norms. Now, this same relationship that I spoke about, it focuses on two factors: contingent reward and management by exception. Yeah, the terms contingent reward, management by exception. So what is contingent reward? It is another exchange process. But with this contingent reward, it is where leaders and followers in which their effort by followers is exchanged for specific rewards. Remember, I alluded to that a little earlier, just a while ago, where I talk about being rewarded. You do good, you are rewarded. You don't do good, you get punished. So with the contingent reward, the focus or the exchange process is where you get specific rewards. So look at it this way. For example, there is this insurance salesman, and he gets paid by the amount of insurance policies that he sells. So with the transactional leader, if you sell 20 insurance policies, then there are rewards for those sales. But if that same insurance worker, he has to walk from house to house for an entire day trying to sell insurance policies, but at the end of the day, he doesn't sell any insurance policy, then with the transactional leader, you will not be rewarded for spending all day walking from house to house because you didn't get any of the insurance policies sold. You will only be rewarded if you get that insurance policy sold. So just picture that, colleagues. Picture that person walking for the entire day from house to house, and he's not getting rewarded because he did not sell any insurance. That's what contingent reward basically focus on, and the transactional leadership. And then when we talk about management by exception, it is where these leaders use corrective criticisms, negative feedback, and negative reinforcement to have their followers do their work or do the work. Now, we have to focus, or we have to be mindful of criticisms. Now, constructive criticisms focus on the good, the positives, and focus on getting employees or followers to improve in a positive way. But then if we talk about criticism itself focus on the negatives only. And that may lower the worker's self-esteem. The negative feedback is where they focus on the wrongs, only the wrongs. So picture you as a worker, you are doing well, you are doing good, but every time you do well, your leader doesn't congratulate you and say, you have done well. But instead, they look for every little mistake that you make, and they focus on that mistake and give you directives, instructions on how to correct the mistake. So that's what we refer to as management by exception. And yes, it could be actively or it could be passively, where the leaders do it openly. So you get to work late, that leader go to that logbook next to your name and they write up, you are late such and such minutes. Passively, that would be actively, doing it openly. Or they could do it passively, whereas you are late and you pass by their office and they pretend that you don't exist. But they pull the logbook where you can see and they write up that information there. Managing by exception. So to summarize what transactional leadership is about, we are basically saying that the leaders do not individualize the needs of subordinates. They do not look at the needs or focus on individual workers. It's not about the individual worker. So they are not concerned about why are you late for work. They are not concerned about what is the reason why you are not getting the work done. They are not concerned about your needs. Their only focus is getting the work done. So for example, again, you go to work and you are not feeling well. You are sick. And you go to your leader and you say to your leader, I am not well today. I can't make it at work. And your leader says to you, I am sick too. Implying that you can't go home, we have work to do, you are sick, I am sick, stay here and get the work done. They don't individualize the needs of their subordinates. And they believe, and transactional leaders believe, that people desire to be led and emphasize top-down decision making. They make all the decisions. The transactional leaders, they make the decisions. The decisions come from the top, and you as followers, you follow those decisions. You abide by those decisions. They do not spend time to inspire the followers. So right here, colleagues, you can see some authoritarian leadership style in this, whereas the decision comes from the top. Right? So basically, that's the transactional leadership style in a nutshell. I'm going to ask my colleague Lisa, if you wish to add to the transactional leadership style, feel free to do so, Lisa.
Thank you for asking, but no, I'm just enjoying learning. Thank you very much.
Okay, great, great. Maybe I can go to the chat. Okay, so let me just go through the transformational leadership style, and perhaps I can go to the chat and see about those messages in the chat. So with a transformational leadership style, it is completely the opposite of transactional leadership style. This is where the leaders, they focus on individual needs, right? They work to enhance the motivation and engagement of followers by directing their behavior to a shared vision. So they look out for the needs of the workers. They look out for the interests of the workers, and they motivate them. They arouse interest in what is being done. So you are late for work, the transformational leader wants to know why, what is the reason why you are late for work, and they are going to try to make an effort to help you to be early for work. Because what or why? They're concerned about each individual that is in the workplace. Burns says that transformational leadership is a process in which leaders and followers raise one another to higher levels of morality. So it is not about the leader alone. It is about the leaders and the followers, and they raise each other. The followers make the leaders better, and the leaders make the followers better. This is done through communication. This is done through interpersonal connections and so forth, right? And here we see that Marshall 2013 says that it is a form of charismatic leadership. So again, we are seeing a different leadership style here, charismatic leadership, coming out in transformational leadership. And it operates on the notion of 2 + 2 = 5. There's not a mistake there. We know that 2 + 2 = 4. But they operate on the notion that we can go a step above. Workers and leaders work together, and the outcome is not minimal. The outcome is to the maximum. So it is very important that they work together to raise each other. right? The transformational leadership style. Now, to explain transformational leadership styles further, there are what we call the 4 I's, because they all begin with I's. We have individualized consideration, intellectual stimulation, inspirational motivation, and idealized influence. So what are these then? Now, I would have alluded to some of these a little earlier and just a while ago, but the individualized consideration, that is where the need of each follower is looked at. The leader attend to each of his followers. So as a leader, you develop that rapport with each of your workers. It's not as if you have 10 workers, you and 5 of the workers talk good, have a good relationship, but the other 5, there is not a good relationship. No, with the transformational leadership, it's not about the 5 that you speak well to, or you have a good relationship with, and you neglect the other 5. No, it doesn't work like that. Every single one is looked at. The needs of the 5 and the other 5, they are looked at. And because these leaders, transformational leaders, are master builders at relationship, they won't get the other 5 on their team as well, because they will be looking out for them genuinely. So these leaders, transformational leaders, they act as mentors, they act as coach, they act as advisors. They encourage self-actualization, right? Basically, as you should know, self-actualization, that term that was coined by Maslow and his hierarchy of needs. It is where the leader, the transformational leader, helps his followers to realize their true potential, help them to fulfill their true potential. So it is raising the standards of their followers so that their followers can reach their true potential and fulfill that. They make interpersonal connections with their employees. They show genuine compassion and encourage ongoing professional development. So as I said, right, these leaders, transformational leaders, they develop a good rapport and they have a good communication with their employees. Now, it is important to note that there are different types of interpersonal relations and interpersonal connections, right? We have family interpersonal connections. We have friends interpersonal connections. We have romantic interpersonal connections. And we also have work interpersonal connections, right? So we are talking about work interpersonal connections, where the leaders and the workers, they deal with they talk about shared experience. If you can remember, those of you who were here from the beginning, I asked my colleague Lisa, so how is teaching in Canada, right? And I focus on the work. This was me trying to develop an interpersonal connection so that my colleague can feel comfortable talking to me, talking to us. Hence, there will be no need or should not be a need to retard the vision, because the communication is open and it's like breaking the ice, making her feel comfortable, and there's that interpersonal relation, right? So with that interpersonal relation, as I said, we talk about shared experience. We respect each other when it comes to communication. We set boundaries, right? So obviously, we are going to make a distinction between our conversation where we talk about work and not necessarily about home or about personal business or personal affairs. So we make that distinction, we set boundaries, but there is that communication between us. that interpersonal connection has been developed because I show genuine compassion and concern for what is taking place in that workers' lives, right? So that's individualized consideration. We have intellectual stimulation. That is where the leader stimulates, right, the followers to be innovative. They want the followers, or they encourage the followers. They arouse the interest of followers to try new and creative methods, right? They tackle all problems in unusual ways, in novel fashions. They find new ways of solving problems because perhaps the old way wasn't working. So they become innovative and they use unusual, novel fashion to solve these problems so that the team can achieve success. They also encourage employees to think about their conventional methods, their ordinary methods, their normal methods. Is this working? The way I have been going about teaching in the classroom per se, is it working? The chart, the talk, is it working? The conventional method. Should I use new strategies, innovative strategies, so that I can improve teaching and learning? And with the intellectual stimulation, the transformational leader also empowers the employees, right? They make the employee feel confident and stronger. So the transformational leader doesn't need to focus on the role of supervision. They don't need to attend every single class to see what the worker is doing. They don't need to jump from class to class to class to make sure that their workers are working. And their workers don't have to feel intimidated because they would have empowered their worker. Their worker feel confident in themselves and in their skills and in their abilities to get the task done and to challenge their own belief and to challenge the perspectives of the leader as well. Because it is important to know that challenging a perspective is not being rude. It is a way to build each other. It is part of leadership. And the transformational leader encourages the followers to challenge the perspectives. They don't try to muzzle their followers. They want to hear what the followers have to say. We have inspirational motivation as well. Transformational leaders also inspire their followers to leave their comfort zone. You would have heard before that people grow when they leave their comfort zone. So the transformational leader helps followers to grow by challenging them to leave their comfort zone. They are optimistic and they communicate their optimism about future goals with their followers. They give them a reason why this is being done, right? The transformational leader doesn't just put something on the table and say, this is it. No, not that way with the transformational leader at all. They communicate with their followers and they give the reason. They say, well, hey, what? I propose, this is how we go about getting this done. And this is the reason why I think this would work. And then they'll listen to hear what the follower would say and listen for the followers' reason or reasons why they think it would work or it would not work. So they communicate high expectations as well. And they use emotional appeal. So it's not about bringing the extrinsic reward to say, well, man, if you do this, you are going to get an extra $5, you're going to get an extra $20, or you're going to get promoted. No, it's not about that extrinsic reward or motivate or motivation. It is about appealing to the emotions of their workers. And in the school setting, you know, this is done most of the time, or sometimes you will hear leaders say, so it is for the students. What we do is to improve or to make the students better, you know, and we must have some conscience when it comes to doing certain things, you know, whether we are absent from classes too often, or we must have a conscience that we know that we need to do what we have to do, attend classes, because it is not about the money, it is about the students. Yes, the money is there as well, and it goes a long way, but the transformational leader does not focus on that type of reward. Instead, they focus or use emotional appeal. Then we have the idealized influence, right? This is where the transformational leader is a strong role model. They have high standards of ethical and moral conduct. And most importantly, the followers deeply respect and trust the leaders. So you see, as a question that was posted earlier in the comment, in our chat. Now, if we use the transformational leadership style, and we have that idealized influence, where our followers respect us as leaders and trust us as leaders, then there would be no need to sabotage the vision. There would be no need to want to see you fail, because you are deeply respected and trusted. There is that influence, and you hear that word influence coming out again, very important when we talk about the leadership, right? The transformational leader, they promoted broad inclusive education. It is not about this group. All of the groups are included, and they lead by example. Again, when I started the presentation, I had my mask on as a symbolic gesture, you know, to encourage persons to wear the mask, and basically leading by example. And that's what transformational leaders do, and that is part of the idealized influence. And the final point that I have there says, create trust and confidence. We have been speaking about trust for a very long time. And I also spoke about confidence when I said that the transformational leader empowers the followers, their workers. So they help to create that confidence in their workers, and their workers feel that, yes, I have discovered. They put 100% because no one is on their back, focusing on supervision. So again, to summarize the transformational leadership style, the transformational leader, they are attentive to the needs and motives of followers. They look out for their workers and not just getting things done, right? So basically, what will make my worker happy? What can I do to make my worker happy? So there is a timetable that is created in the school, and the workers are not happy with your timetable. With the transformational leader, they are going to make every effort to make their workers happy, to remedy that timetable, because that transformational leader knows that when my worker is happy, when my workers are happy, they produce more. They are more effective. So they focus on the needs and what motivates followers and the motive of followers, and they try to raise them and to make them happy, so that at the end of the day, the goals of the organization can be achieved, right? And the point says, according to Kapor, it is transforming individuals into future leaders. I believe I saw that in the message area as well, right? It is where leaders develop leaders. That's transformational. So it's not about me as a leader myself. It is about me as a leader raising the standards of other leaders, developing other leaders. So when I am gone, there are leaders right there to take over, because I have been working on creating new leaders. So you may see our president decide that, okay, so I am going to help this person to take over in the future. I'm preparing this person to lead, and that is what transformational leaders do. They develop leaders and do not think about themselves only, but about the future with a vision and being able to influence others and having people willing to participate to achieve the group's goal, the organization's goal. So something I have there to ponder on, leaders developing leaders, and that is the true essence of laissez-faire, not laissez-faire, but of transformational leadership, right? Lisa, you want to come in there and give your comments on those leadership styles?
No, I'm just reflecting again, and I thank you very much.
All right, awesome. So guys, right? We have looked at these two leadership styles, and in the transformational leadership style, you can see a bit of democratic leadership style coming out, where you allow workers to make decisions, you listen to them. And you also see charismatic leadership coming out in transformational leadership. Hence the reason why when I started leadership styles, I said that these leadership styles encompass the traditional leadership styles, the authoritarian and the democratic leadership styles. So it goes deeper. These two leadership styles go deeper and they are wider than the traditional leadership styles, and they can help us as leaders to improve our skills, our leadership skills. And that third traditional leadership style that I had, laissez-faire, where it said earlier, the leaders make few decisions and they allow workers to choose. Colleagues, I am giving you a new perspective with laissez-faire leadership. So it's no longer, we are saying that it is where the leader makes few decisions and allow employees to choose or workers to choose. But the new perspective I am putting forth with laissez-faire is that it is a non-leadership factor. How is that so? It is the absence of leadership. So if you think you know someone who is a laissez-faire leader, the perspective that I'm putting forward right now is that no, leadership is absent when we talk about laissez-faire. Why? Because that leader has abdicated his responsibilities, his or her responsibilities. They leave workers to choose. They make few decisions and they delay their decision making. Someone also asked earlier about feedback in our chat. And I told that person, I mentioned that when we get to the end of leadership styles, we would see, or it would answer the question about feedback. So that leader who doesn't give feedback or gives poor feedback, then that leader is more on the laissez-faire, and as the perspective I am putting forth in our leadership session, leadership is absent here. And the laissez-faire leader make little effort to help their followers. So it's not about raising the followers to a higher standard. It's not about that. It's just about them kicking in inverted commas and saying, okay, you run this, you do this. So you go to that leader and you ask that leader, what should be done? And that leader says to you, ask John, ask Susie. And every time you go to that leader for guidance and direction, they simply tell you, ask this person. So again, in the school system, because we are teachers, so I can relate to the school system, You go to the principal and you ask for direction, and the principal says, ask the deputy. What happens there? Yes, democratic leader, it could be that he's allowing someone else to give their suggestion. But basically, from the perspective I'm putting forth here is that that leader is abdicating his responsibility and just putting his responsibility on someone else. So there's an absence of leadership right there. And that's what I have for leadership styles. I believe I can look at the chat and see if there's any comments here that we can look at, Lisa. So I'm seeing here, okay, I am seeing a lot. Probably I can just pick out a few. I may not be able to pick out all, right? Because there's a lot there I'm seeing. So I guess it reinforces the fact that you can't lead if no one wants to follow, even if your vision are all wonderful. If no one wants to follow, you're not leading at the moment. You need to make them want to follow. And that is where the influence comes in. Collectiveness reduces resistance. Yes, I can accept that. Laughing. I am good that you're laughing. I hope it's a good laugh. The last one was funny. Jail them. Okay. Yes, that is the leadership style as well. Right? You was looking for one with your leader, our leader. Okay. When the leader shows concern for those that they lead, then it becomes easy for them to go along with you. Yeah, when you show genuine concern, compassion, yeah. Take the vaccine or find another job. Well, we can always discuss what type of leadership that is, right? And authority is no longer necessary. Exactly. With influence, authority is not necessary because your authority comes not from the position, but from the influence that you hold, right? Lisa, you wish to add something here before we move on to our last aspect?
Actually, it was a little story that happened just recently. So I know that our system will be very different from other systems around the world, but we have a principal and then we have teachers, and the principal has their role as a leader, and of course teachers as well. But the principal had said, having not been in the classroom, what do you think we should do, Lisa? And I thought that that was a very important comment because of course we're speaking about our children, and I can speak to the children in my room because I am with them all day long, but my principal is not. So it was nice to have that dialogue together.
Yes, and that's how you, as a leader, get buy-in and support, you know. So your principal asking, Lisa, what do you think? He's on the right step there, because then you can feel as if you are participating in the decision making. You can feel as if that decision that is being made is not only the principal's decision, but it is your decision as well. So then you can work to achieve the common goal along with the principal and your other colleagues because you are involved. Yes. So it takes us to that last aspect in our session, which is how does leadership relate to the teacher? Now, I have this image here, and I have on the top, leadership is not found in a position or a title. I believe we made that vividly clear, absolutely clear, that the position or the title that you hold or a person holds, right, that position has nothing to do with leadership. And as the image suggests, the leader, yes, he's at the top, he's leading, but you see that he has a lot of holding so that the other workers, the followers, can climb that ladder. He's trying to raise them to a different level. He's trying to develop leaders, bring them up. And that is what leaders do, right? So we have that covered. I believe that is clear for us as well. So let's talk about teaching. Now, teaching itself, it is a demanding role. All of us are teachers, and we can concur it is a very demanding role, right? It requires organizational and time management skills, the ability to cultivate other strengths, perseverance in the face of countless obstacles, and building relationships. Earlier I mentioned about leaders being masters with relationship building, right? Now, all of these roles that teaching demands are the same skills and experiences needed to lead. So what am I saying here when we talk about leadership and the teacher? I'm saying that teaching is a field, is an open field for leadership. And how so? Why is teaching an open field for leadership? That is because the teacher provides direction, instructions, guidance, motivation to their classes. So basically, a teacher is a leader in their classroom. So the teacher cannot avoid the leadership position. Even though that you don't have the formal leadership position in the school, a title such as a principal, a deputy principal, a middle manager, that doesn't mean that you are not a leader as a teacher. Because from the very beginning, from the onset, you are put in the driver's seat. From the time you get that job and you are sent in the classroom to handle 20, 30 students or to handle several different classes, automatically you are the leader from day one. So teachers cannot escape leadership positions or leadership roles. So it takes us to the term that is coined teacher leader. Who is a teacher leader? What is teacher leadership? It is a process whereby teachers or individuals, if you want to put it that way, influence their colleagues, influence their principals, influence other members of the school. It is also a process whereby teachers lead change in their school. They step out of the classroom, they accept the challenges, and they do all this so as to improve teaching, to improve learning experiences of the students and the students' achievement. So a teacher leader is one who has several skills under his or her belt, and they employ these skills effortlessly. So now imagine this, colleagues. You are in a school, you are a teacher. You are not the principal, you are not the deputy principal, you are just a teacher, but yet you are able to effect changes upon your colleagues' character, upon your colleagues' behavior. You are influencing your colleagues. And then your influence goes even further, that you are able to influence your principal as well, your leader as well. So if you are able to influence your colleagues, leaders, and other members of the school, you are a leader, even though you do not hold that formal title. So again, it is difficult for teachers to escape leadership positions. But then what teachers need to do is to build their leadership skills. And they do it not only for themselves, but for the benefit of their students, right? So a teacher leader influence others and make changes. They lead the changes. And I have this image here about the teacher leader, right? The teacher leader, he or she is a coach, a connector, a mentor, an observer. They are all of the above, a teacher leader. And I have one concept, one term to describe the teacher leader. I will get to that concept, that term, a little while from now, in our next slide. So the teacher leader, as I mentioned earlier, effortlessly could employ leadership skills. They are able to build trust, they inspire self-reliance, they model approachability. They know about obstacles and they know how to overcome these obstacles. And most importantly, the teacher leader is able to juggle a variety of responsibilities. So that leader can be teaching at school, the teacher leader can be teaching in the classrooms. That teacher leader is able to go in the community and help out others. That teacher leader is able to take part on other organizations. That teacher leader can still go home and spend time with his family and get things done because they are able to juggle a variety of responsibilities. So if you are able to build trust, to juggle the variety of responsibilities, that takes us to that term that I spoke about just a while ago to describe the teacher leader. And this next slide describes the teacher leader. Who is a teacher leader? Yes, a super teacher. And believe that. If you consider yourself to be a super teacher, you consider yourself to be a leader, then you are a super teacher. And they do exist. And that's why teachers need to build their leadership skills. Keeping in mind, at the end of the day, the organization benefits and the students, most importantly, benefit. Lisa, you want to come in here and talk about the teacher leader, the super teacher? They are all over.
I just I like that very much, and it is nice to know that everybody has that opportunity to be a leader and a super teacher.
Awesome. So as the teacher in the classroom, teachers, colleagues, when you feel frustrated, when you feel as if you can't get your students motivated, you can't get your students to do the work, remember, you can do that. And we can look at the term teacher efficacy, where your skills that you have, right, will determine student success. And to add to that, it's my mindset. I believe that I can help every student. There are some teachers that may think that it is past helping some students, as in, there is nothing more I can do for this student, and they give up. And they would say, well, I have done my best, but these students just don't want to learn, so there is nothing that I can do. That's not the perspective that I hold. And as a teacher leader, we are going to change that perspective as a leader in the classroom. We are responsible for the students' learning, and we can get to every student, teacher efficacy. The only problem with getting to every student is the time. We may have 5 years in the secondary school, and 5 years may not be enough to get to some students. So it is not that you cannot get to the student, it is just that the time may be limited. But if you keep in your thoughts, in your mind, in your perspective, that you can get to every student, you can help every student, then that is a start in being a leader in the classroom, a teacher leader. The only thing you have to figure out is how much time would it take to get to this student, right? And I have 4 ways here that can help teachers to build their leadership skills. So in helping students, in helping teachers to build their leadership skills, there are 4 ways, right? So basically we are saying that teaching and leading goes hand in hand, and we can look at these 4 ways. So as a teacher, you can develop a strong vision for your classroom. You can take strategic action to reach the vision. You must build relationship across different lines. Doesn't matter your background, where you're coming from, you must be able to build that relationship. And very importantly, the teacher leader continues to push him or herself to learn and to improve. The teacher leader doesn't say, I am old now. I only have 5 more years. I only have 1 more year before I retire. So I don't need to learn anything new. I don't need to improve. No, that's not what the teacher leader does. That is not how leadership relates to the teacher. You must continue to push yourself, to improve yourself. And in the long run, again, your students benefit. So in looking at these different ways, these 4 ways, with a strong vision, right? Our vision, as we know it, goes a long way in leadership. As I mentioned earlier, a leader without a vision is lost. So, to help to develop your leadership skills as a teacher, you should start each school year by setting a vision for what student success looks like in your classroom. This vision that you set in your classroom, it must be in line with the school's vision. But remember, you are the leader in your classroom. So you are setting that vision. And with every great leader, great teachers think big. So that vision that you set for your classroom, it must help students to realize their gifts. Self-actualization, to realize their true potential. No student must be left behind. That vision should be inclusive. And very importantly, again, that vision should not come from you alone. It's not about you alone. It should include all stakeholders. So you want to include your students in the vision. You want to include their parents, other teachers, even the community, right? The second point says that you take strategic action. You must know how you go about achieving that vision that you set for your class. So you must set goals, long-term, short-term goals. And that strategy, you must determine how you will work with your students, how you will work with your parents, your school team to achieve that common goal. Now, as a teacher leader, you may wonder, so what do I need to do? Do I need to have a strategic plan? Nothing is wrong with having a strategic plan once it is in line with the school's strategic plan, because there must be a shared vision. But it is even easier or more simple, if you want to put it that way, to strategize. For example, planning lessons. Every lesson that you plan as a teacher, every assignment that you prepare for your students is part of the strategy to achieve your vision. So when you do your lesson plans, it's not because your employer says that you must have lesson plans. You are not doing lesson plans for your employer. It is not because your principal says your lesson plans are required. You are not doing lesson plans for your principal. But your lesson plans are part of your strategy to achieve your vision, which is, or which should be, to benefit students at the end of the day. So basically, guys, it is to improve your teaching and to benefit students. When we talk about building relationships, and I mentioned this earlier, I alluded to it several times. Strong leaders are masters of relationship building. So it's not that half of your staff and you are good, and the other half, you cannot talk to them. They are rogues, if you want to put it like that. They have gone rogue. No, it's not like that. You as a leader should be able to build relationships with everyone, an authentic, genuine relationship, because this would be crucial to the success, to your success as a teacher and to the success of your students. So your students would feel comfortable talking to you. Even your colleagues would feel comfortable talking to you because there's that trust, and you will be able to motivate them, right? And as I said, we are talking about a diverse group. Staff, parents, and other stakeholders, because they would come from different backgrounds. They would have different experiences. So you must be able to communicate to all of them. So for example, as a leader, some parents may come to you, and you must be able to go to their level, to their understanding, to get the information across. You must be able to navigate across different boundaries and different lines. And then when we combine all of these different backgrounds, all of these different experiences, then the strength of the team should be better, should be greater than it was before. And then the last point I have here is to continue to push yourself. The teacher leader continue to push him or herself to do better, to learn, and to improve. Research, seeking feedback are important to effective leaders. They're important characteristics. Every decision that is made by a teacher, by us as teachers, should be based on research, should be based on evidence, and we should seek feedback. So we should not make decisions on our feelings at the moment, or what we think may be right or wrong, but we should base decisions on research and evidence. So we, as teacher leaders, must continue to research. We must continue to keep ourselves abreast with information. We must learn or continue to learn how to teach a new concept, how to motivate each student, how to navigate the structures within your school to get things done. So we are online now, and we are using, different platforms. As a teacher leader, you should make yourself available to learn how to use these different platforms, to navigate these different platforms. We just don't want to learn the basics, but we want to learn all the features so that we can improve our teaching and our students' learning. And again, we must seek opportunities to develop. So we want to access training as teachers. Whatever training are there, we want to access them. We want to take advantage of this training so that we can develop ourselves and challenge perspectives. I mentioned about challenging perspectives earlier when we talk about leadership styles. And here again, the teacher leader and how leadership relates to the teacher must be able to challenge perspectives. It's not about being rude, disobedient, or being rude, but the leader must encourage and empower the teachers to challenge perspectives. So to put it all together, the teacher leader and teaching and leadership, teachers must make every effort to learn leadership skills and qualities for the sake of the students. Number one priority must be our students. And it doesn't matter that you are not in a formal leadership role. You don't have to be the principal or the deputy principal or middle manager. You are a teacher, you are in the classroom, you are a leader. And when we put aside the formal roles, it has a lot to do with the way you operate. So we are saying that as teacher leaders and being in the classroom, we need to make time to listen, to build authentic relationships with our colleagues, with our students. We must reflect. What did we do? How did we do it? How would I do it next time? Did it work the last time? What would work the next time? And we must look back and look for best practices. And very importantly, we must collaborate in every aspect and with every stakeholder. Hence again, you can see the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union collaborating with the Canadian Teachers Federation and with the Ministry of Education, our Ministry of Education. And we are trying to align this to a shared vision, improving the quality of teaching and learning for both our teachers and students, right? So I am going to ask my colleague again, Lisa, if you wish to come in here, because we are at the end of how leadership relates to the teacher. So Lisa, feel free to add your comment here.
I just really wanted to thank you for sharing these ideas.
Okay, awesome. Awesome, Lisa. And I have the last activity. As a leader in the education sector in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what changes would you make, if any, and justify your response? I will look at the chat shortly and see what my colleagues would have stated. Now, I want you to think about this, colleagues. You can unmute your mic if you wish and say what you think, or you can type it in the chat. But let me begin. Right? As a leader in the education sector in SVG, one change I would make is when it comes to CPEA and where students are sent, the secondary schools where students are assigned. We know that CPEA is basically used as a placement for students, right? Because it is compulsory secondary education. As a leader in the education sector, I will scrap what they consider to be top schools, grammar schools, girls' high schools, and the likes. And I will not just send students with the top grades to these schools, but instead I will send them to the schools in their communities closer to them. So then the rural schools would have students who would have performed at the top in the CPEA. Now the question that would be asked is, so these students may be at a disadvantage because they may not have the rural schools may not have the resources that the other schools that they consider to be the top schools have. That is an easy fix. We need to ensure that every single school receives equal resources. So what the top schools have, the rural schools should have the same things. The labs, the qualified teachers, or the teachers with the highest qualifications, or if you want to put it like that. So with schools, all schools having the same resources, then there is no need to say that, oh, I want my child to go to this school because they will get a better education there. No. And to begin with that, I am going to change the names of the top schools, because some persons may have it in their head that, you know, this name, it is associated with excellence. So because it is associated with excellence, you know, I want my child to go there. So I'm going to change the names. Let us get out of the colonial past. So no more St. Vincent Grammar School, no more Girls High School. I probably would have an educator and rename the school, giving it an educator's name, right? So that perception about the name and excellence, you know, we can throw that out the window. Each school would have equal resources, and then we can start to send the students closest to their homes, with all the schools having the resources. Hence, at the end of their tenure, their 5 years tenure, then we will not have certain schools performing extremely high with the percentage, and where some other schools are at the bottom. Because why? These schools do not start equally from Form 1 with the students who are sent to them. So at Form 5, you can see one reason why the results are like that. But if we distribute the students equally and to their communities, then at the end of 5 years, I am very sure that the different schools would have better average, better pass grades. Again, this is my opinion, and this is the change I will make as a leader. I am hoping that I can see some of the changes that you would make if you are a leader in SVG. So guys, again, colleagues, feel free to drop your thoughts in the chat, or if you want to unmute and give your perspective, feel free. Okay, so this question, is a teacher owning a leader in the classroom, or as you said, all around? In that, they find ways to work around challenges, even with non-team players. Yep. To not just motivate your students, but to improve your mental health. Yes, a teacher leader is not just a leader in the classroom, all around, right? But just mean that the teacher leader cannot escape the leadership responsibilities because he or she is placed in the classroom. Yes, Miss Martindale.
Mr. Williams, you are comparing the rural school to those schools that perform well. But I think your comparison was a bit, well, not to the best. It should be, because there are schools in the urban side that are neglected too. In the town, you have schools that are neglected. You understand? So with the rural, I mean, yes, you may think that they want to be up a little bit, but there are schools in the urban that need some attention. All right, so it's not the comparison shouldn't be rural and the top schools.
And you are correct. You are correct. The comparison wasn't so much, or shouldn't have been so much about rural schools, but more to the schools that we consider to be the top schools. But you are absolutely correct, and your comment is welcome. So yes, again, colleagues, if there are no more questions, I want to say thank you for listening, and I wish to turn over to Lisa so that she can have her final say again. And thank you for listening again, colleagues, and for taking the time out to attend our workshop. Lisa?
And I just wanted to say thank you too. It's been a pleasure to be here and to learn and be part of the experience.
All right, thank you. So back over to you, Brother President.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very comprehensive. I really appreciate you spoke about the different types of leadership, transformational, transactional, you know, some of the skills, some of the things that really came out. The whole issue of relationship is so critical. That's why sometimes we have problems, conflict, unresolved conflict that would hinder the performance and the achievement and the successes. The whole issue of communication again came out. Evidence based, being guided by, in other words, be more scientific. Use the data. So, like when the ministry sends a report, results, performance of student, you use that would guide in your planning. And one of the things I want to add also is to value. Leaders must value the ideas of their followers, so they feel more part of the organization. They identify with the vision. And you made a point about a shared vision, the whole issue of inclusion, collaboration, and I say it was a very, very rich experience. That's what I started out by saying. It's a rich experience, and I think the combination between Vanrick and Lisa was very compatible, and we really appreciate very much this great presentation. I have been watching the numbers, and at one time you had the numbers stuck to the maximum. So that says a lot about the quality of your joint presentation. I want to pause at this time. I think the course director may want to come in and say a few words before we do any final comments. Brother Andrew John.
Yes, thank you very much, Brother President.
Yes.
I want to extend our appreciation to our presenters. Again, I am quite satisfied with what was done. I think they really did justice to the topic. I know the time was against us tonight as we started a little late, but I think it shows that the topic was well researched, and I think people would have, come away from this with far better than they would have entered it. So I want to express my appreciation to the presenters, and Brother Vanrick, I also want to say that I'm very pleased that we did allow you to do this session. It's a start, and I'm expecting that you would build on it. So I'm expecting to hear more from you in the future. We want to also express, yes, our appreciation to the Canadians, because this would be our final session with the Canadians for this year, for this workshop. We really want to extend our appreciation to Lisa. Lisa, just on behalf of the President and the Union on a whole, just extend to the Canadians our sincere thanks for being part of it. I know it was on short notice and it would have been difficult for you to fit in to our workshop, and we do appreciate the fact that you took you made that effort. So thank you very much. Also to our participants tonight, I know you stuck to your guns. I know you really would have been enriched by this experience as the presidency. So thank you all very much once again for being a part of it. Next workshop would be on planning an effective ICT inclusive lesson. We have two in that series, planning and delivery. So the next session we would have that, and I think our presenter in that one would be Mr. Gums. So we look forward to that one as well. So thank you all very much and have a blessed night.
I want to thank the GS for the prayers, and we also want to thank our technical director, Brother Shady Conliff, who has been managing the technology, doing a great job. We appreciate the teamwork from everybody. Please remember our emergency general meeting tomorrow at 10:30. Please keep your mics muted as you enter the meeting, and please remember to register. Use the name that you have registered. so that we would have a very smooth transition of the meeting. Want to thank everybody again for your participation. We look forward to be again with you at the next appointed time. Good night, everybody, and have a safe night rest. Bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.